Good morning, good afternoon, good night, worshippers of Jesus Christ. Welcome to Minutes with Jesus. Thank you so much for tuning back in as we continue the book of Genesis on to Genesis chapter 44. Anyway, what has happened so far? So Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his brothers, ends up in prison after being falsely accused, interprets some dreams to people who were also prisoners there. They both come true. 2 years later, the guy who remembers Joseph in prison tells Pharaoh of him, and Pharaoh has Joseph taken out of prison, and Joseph correctly interprets his two dreams. And Pharaoh rewards him by giving him a position so close to what Pharaoh does, besides the throne itself. So Joseph is now being the distributor of food during this famine, and the brothers come in need of food, so they come to Egypt. Joseph recognizes them right away. They don't recognize him at all. He does a little bit of trickery kind of to them because he really wants to see Benjamin, their youngest brother, which is his full brother, who was not with them when they came on this journey. So he ends up putting Simeon, one of their brothers, in jail as an insurance kind of policy that Benjamin would come with them the next time that they needed food. So they're in need of food. Jacob/Israel, who's the daddy, does not want Benjamin to go because he thinks like, oh my gosh, like this is the only son I have left of Rachel, my love, kids, you know. Anyway, long story short, Judah, one of the brothers, convinces the father, I will take care of Benjamin. Please let him go with us. The moment Joseph, the guy who's being head, the leader here, well, kind of leader because he's not Pharaoh, but he's almost Pharaoh, sees Benjamin, he invites them all to the house, gives them a great meal of food, and now let's see what's going to happen next. A silver cup in a sack. Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of its sack. Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. As morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, Go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and also uses for divination? This is a wicked thing you have done. Now I'm sure you're thinking, wait a minute, divination? Joseph was God-fearing, witchcraft, Okay, so we don't really know if he did divination, but we have three kind of possibilities here. One, maybe he was saying that to kind of up the value of the cup, to kind of spook his brothers, because his brothers would be familiar with the term and would kind of understand like, oh gosh, So maybe he was using it to freak them out. Maybe it was just a cup that he owned, because at that time in Egypt, it was very common for leaders to own a divination cup. Does it mean he used it for divination? No, it just means that he was a leader that owned a cup for divination. But also, this was very common. Could he have, blended with the customs of typical leaders of Egypt who would use divination to kind of determine the future? Maybe. Also, in a way, he was using that cup as a test. Divination, like as a test to determine the future, determine the hearts of the brothers. So yeah, he was kind of using the cup as a test, divining the test, a divine test, Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So let's go on to verse 6. When he caught up with them, he repeated those words to them. But they said to him, "Why does your Lord say such a thing? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mouths of our sacks." And they're referring to the last time that they came, the last time they came to Egypt to get food, all of their money was returned to their sacks, and they brought all that money back. So why would we still steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die. The rest of us will become my Lord's slaves. Very well then, he said. Let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame. Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. Then the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest. The cup was found in Benjamin's sack, which was the youngest, which was also the full brother of Joseph. Verse 13. At this, they tore their clothes, which was very common at that time, to express extreme anguish. Then they all loaded their donkeys and returned to the city. Verse 14. Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. Joseph said to them, "What is this that you have done? Don't you know that a man like me can find things out by divination?" And we don't know if he's just saying this to kind of spook them out, or if he was serious. We don't know. Verse 16. "What can we say to my Lord?" Judah replied. "What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my Lord's slaves, we ourselves, and the one who was found to have the cup." But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you go back to your father in peace." Then Judah went up to him and said, "Pardon your servant, my lord. Let me speak a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself. My lord asked his servant, 'Do you have a brother or a father? Do you have a father or a brother?' And we answered, 'We have an aged father, and there is a youngest son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he is the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him.' Then you said to your servants, 'Bring him down to me, so that I can see him for myself.' And we said to my lord, 'The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die.' But you told your servants, 'Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again.' When we went back to your servant my father, we told him what my lord said. Then our father said, 'Go back and buy a little more food.' But we said, 'We cannot go down. Only if your youngest brother is with us will we go. We cannot see the man's face unless your youngest brother is with us.' Your servant my father said to us, 'You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me.' And I said, 'He has surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery.'" So basically Judah is basically just saying the whole story that I told you in the beginning. Verse 30. "So now if the boy is not with us when I go back to your servant my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy isn't there, he will die. Your servants will bring the gray head of our fathers down to the grave in sorrow. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. And that's Judah saying the promise that he made to his father, to Joseph, sorry. Now then, please let your servant remain here as my lord's slave in the place of the boy, and let the boy return with his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, don't not let me see the misery that will come to my father. Wow, so Judah is pleading for Benjamin's life, for Benjamin to be free. And to the point that he is sacrificing himself to take Benjamin's place so that he can be a slave and his youngest brother can go free. So he's staying loyal to the promise that he made his father. So that kind of leaves us in a little cliffhanger. What is Joseph's response going to be? He did this test to find out how will his brothers respond. And now he's seeing. They are literally defending their youngest brother, which is not something they did for him, for Joseph. So let's see what he's going to do. Until next time in thank you for enjoying chapter 44 in the NIV version Bible. God bless you.